Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back to our show. I'm your host, John Harcar, and I'm here today with Shaune Corbett. And what we're going to be talking about, besides this journey, is podcasting with real estate agents and helping agents grow that community. Guys, at Investor Fuel, we help realtors, real estate investors, service providers, all real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their business by providing tools and resources to build the business they want to build and in turn live the life that they want to live. Shaune, welcome to our show.
Man, I appreciate it, John. Thank you for allowing me to come on. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for what you have to share. But before we kind of get into the weeds of all that, why don't you tell our folks about, how you got here, what got you into real estate, what is, what's going on with you right now?
Sure, yeah. So John and I were kind of talking offline, and, everyone has an untraditional way they get into real estate. Either the family's in it or they sold a house, they hated their agent, and they wanted to do it right. I get all kinds of reasons. I have no idea really why I'm doing it. I think I could do a lot of things, but it's somewhere that I've been for a little over 20 years. I've had a license. I worked for a small brokerage, I worked for a small home builder, and he built $1 million homes, and it cost him a lot of money to sell them to agents. And I made him an offer. I said, well, I'll sell all your houses for free if you will cover the cost of me getting a license, keeping the license, and becoming a broker. I had to be a broker in that scenario in order to have full control over how we sell them, because this guy in particular is very much, I got to know and control everything. So I made him the offer. He said, sure, I'll do it. And that's how I, born my brokerage, True West Realty. I did that for a little over 10 years. I got up to about 10 agents. Probably in that time period sold maybe 150 million, 200 million in real estate. And then I made the move to EXP, which is a cloud-based brokerage, which most people know what it is today. When I joined 6.5 years ago, nobody knew who they were. But they made the move from being brick and mortar to a cloud base. And my view was I can leverage all the technology, leverage all the training, not take on any of the liability, because that was a problem, and maximize my opportunity to grow my business and my agent's business so everybody could win. And it worked out really well for me. I went from doing probably about 8-10 million a year myself to my second year there, I did almost 40 million. And I sold about 127 transactions. So I got my feet under me pretty quick when he took away all the liability and responsibility. So that's where I got into that part of the real estate. That's more the retail side. That's
Sure.
Not the investor side. I'd say half my business is investors. I do off market. I do all kinds of creative finance options. I've done sub-twos, owner finance, flips. I've done about 100 flips in my own personal name here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And it all makes sense to me. Really. But at this point now, I pretty much spend all my time doing retail and some investors. And then I do a lot of podcasting, which is where you and I are talking right now. I really enjoy that space. And I also, I built a agent community where I can give back. I don't care what broker you're with. I'm broker neutral.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
So that's kind of where I am today in real estate.
Okay. You seem to, when you started off doing the traditional real estate, you were pretty successful. What pushed you into the investor space?
I had a buddy I was working with, and we bought a rental property, right? Hey, everyone says real estate it makes more millionaires than anything else. So let me try that. So we did. We got together. He put up, I think at the time, 10,000. I put up 10,000, and we made a deal, and I was able to find one a good house for us. So we bought it, and then we were able to get a tenant in it after we cleaned it up a little bit, and then I bought another one from another guy that it was just direct to the seller. And he was foolish. He wouldn't listen to me, and he put himself in a bad situation. I said, look, you're not going to make next month's payment. If you want, I'll take it at cost, and we'll call it a day. And that's exactly what I did. I bought his house, and I rented that one out. And then my partner came to me and said, hey, let's get into flipping. So I said, okay. So we sold our 2 rental properties, and then we started flipping houses. And I think we flipped over 50 in my name, and then we did another 50 for other people. So we did a little over 100 flips here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and we learned a lot. Right? So you build your network. The things about investors is, or this business is that we have the opportunity now. We're going to build a network of contractors. We're going to build a network of lenders and things that can do hard money, DSCR loans, all these type of, more non-traditional financing. And then we can also have a source of where to bring these properties in and how to evaluate them.
Right.
So, that's really kind of been a skill set that came pretty quick to me on all those processes. So now I have clients that come to me and say, hey, I want to get into investing. I say, great, we can either flip or we can do rentals. And right now, rental business seems to be pretty solid. It's safe, it's low risk, and you build net worth on someone else's money. It's just a pretty clean, easy way to do it.
Right. For the longest time, investor was kind of like a 4-letter word to realtors. We're starting to see maybe some realtors and agents kind of start learning and incorporating that in their business. Why do you think it's important to have that in your tool belt?
You've got to be able to speak their language, and investors is really not for everyone, to be fair. But I tell you why I do like it is because it's unattached, it's not emotional. I'll be honest, man, I sell houses never even talking to the guy, right? I can text an entire deal, and I don't have to show the house. I don't have to show up to closing. I don't have to show up to setting them up to a lender. I get everything done by text. And it's not because I don't like them. It's because they don't need anything more than that.
Right.
They just want to know, do the numbers work? Does it make sense? Is the contractor coming within range? All that checks out. Okay, great. I'll buy it. I'll close it next Friday. And then we'll start, processing it and getting it done. And then text me when you're done, and I'll put it on the market. One thing I do offer to investors, and this is something that you have to decide if this is part of your business model. If I bring a home to an investor, I will sell it for a low flat fee offer on the sales side. And the reason why I do that is because, one, I want the sale. And two, I want to control where they're going to go. And I'm going to offer them a rate and a term that no one else has a reason to offer. Right now, I think I'm at about a flat $3,000 for the list side.
Okay.
That's enough for me to make a little bit. Totally fine with that. And normally, I have so much control on the property that I know what I'm dealing with, right? It's not like a mystery. I don't know what I'm getting. I'm the one that told him what it would sell for. Right. So, it keeps it all in house, and it allows me to have kind of control over, the client and what type of property we're selling and how we're going to sell it. So I've made that a real part of my business model probably 7-8 years ago, and I've sold a ton of investor properties that way.
How did you go?
Real quick. So I always believe if you want to maximize your profitability niche, right?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Riches are in the niches. So if it's first time home buyer, or if it's, the second time home buyer in that 500,000 to 600,000 range here, or you're a luxury buyer, find your niche, be really good at it. And you're welcome to add as a secondary, get someone that's an agent that knows how to work with investors, have them coach you, split it with them. Say, hey, get me through this first one. Tell me what you know, split it 50-50, one deal. Everyone can't see past the forest with the trees, but the reality is, man, get somebody to help you with that. Once you learn the core components of it, then it's simple questions at that point. You don't have to learn all the basics anymore.
Right. Where did you, or how did you find the investors that you started working with when you started implementing that type of your business?
Man, relationships are big for me. So I know a lot of people say, I only work with my sphere of influence, or 80% of my business is sphere. Man, I don't even have a buyer rep presentation or a listing presentation. I only work with people that know me. Okay. That makes a big difference. Imagine closing 100 transactions a year and you never have to sell it to anybody. That's where everybody should try to get to. As far as where I picked up my investors, well, I did it myself. If you do it yourself, now I can talk your language. Now I know the pain you're going to go through. Now I can predict where you're going to have pain, because I know what's going to come, and I know where our shortcomings are. I know where the risks are, and now I can have those conversations. Yeah, it took experience, and that's where it came from me. I didn't go out there and post looking for generic investors to work with. I get calls every day. Do you have any properties I can buy? And it never works. I just say, don't waste your time. I said, man, if I don't know you, I'm not working with you. It really makes an enormous difference. So building those relationships and having referrals is probably the cleanest, fastest way. So find a good investor. They're going to bring you other people. Yeah. That's really kind of the way it goes. And you want to be in that group where you all talk the same language and you have the same kind of risk tolerance. Because, investing in homes is not for everyone either.
Right. That's very true. It is a niche for some people that they can't do it. So talk to me a little bit about, what we mentioned before about podcasting and building the agency or agent community.
Yeah, thank you, John. So my podcast, I call it Real Estate Success DFW with Shaune Corbett. And I started sometime around September to start recording, and I've got a little over 20 episodes. And the target is to find the most successful agents that I can, and I prefer local. I don't mind. I've interviewed some really big players outside of my market, and that's okay. But I really want to bring it home to the local market. And I'm looking for people either that have a really effective social media presence, because I want them to spread my podcast. My objective is to be the #1 podcast for real estate agents in Dallas-Fort Worth this year, I would say in the next 4 to 5 months. And the objective is to build credibility with other agents. That's really the purpose and why I want to do it. It's not because I need a pat on the back or anything, but one thing that does help is in the event I do have a really successful podcast, I don't have to work for buyers and sellers, because I'm going to have instant credibility. It kind of goes back to, if you wrote a book and even if it, you ghost wrote it, whatever, if the book is written from you, by you, about a topic you know a lot about, it instantly gives you credibility. That's the same thing in the space of podcasting. When I tell people I'm a podcast host, they're like, wow, you are? Like, they don't, there's plenty of sorry ones,
right?
But for me, I want to be effective and good at it and really draw out the good stories and share that with other agents. That's why I do the podcasting.
Awesome. And now tell me about the building community, piece. How are you really bringing agents together? How are you building that community?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my podcast is really kind of the driving factor. That started my vision of realizing, agents out right now, I know they're struggling. I know the transaction counts are very low. There's a lot of negative in the news.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And there's, I mean, it's unbelievable, the statistics, right? You've probably got only like 30%. I've only even sold one house or more. I mean, you couldn't live on that. I mean, it's incredible. And if the trend is continuing. So my thinking is I'm not so much looking for new agents. I want experienced agents that can relate to the stories that I'm telling and sharing. And those stories now will bring me agents that have success, but they just want, what else is going on? What are you guys doing? How are you guys having success? And we're going from this, old-fashioned brick and mortar, the broker drove the business, to join a cloud base and then build a community with agents that really fit what you're looking for. Any new agent can join KW. No respect, no disrespect to them. I have a lot of respect for Gary Keller. I've read his book. I use a lot of his tools. But it's really great for building a platform and a basis for building the initial business. I'm looking for people that are a year or two in that are selling, 1 to 2 transactions a month, and they want to go 3 to 4 transactions a month. So I took my brand, Real Estate Success DFW, I added a Facebook group, and I'm using that to offer community events all the time. So right now I've got a training next Wednesday, for example. Okay. And then in 2 weeks, I have another training that I'm going to be offering, and I'm giving it to them. I've got sponsors that take care of lunch. Let's get together for 2 hours. And I'm real intentional. I'm really direct. I give you the information, and I'm going to show you how to get from start to finish the most effective way you possibly can without a lot of the fluff part. That's always been kind of the way that I think about things. It's really simple, straightforward, streamlined. I'm really big into scalability. If you're wasting time doing certain events that won't build your business, I'm going to tell you to stop wasting your time.
Yeah.
Let's focus on things that are going to help you grow your business, and then you get to spend more time things that you do want to do.
One thing I wanted to ask a little earlier, what challenges maybe are you seeing in the transition from the brick and mortar to a cloud-based type of business?
Yeah, so what happened in the early 2000s is the advent of the internet has changed all perspectives of real estate. It put power into the hands of the buyers and sellers, and by doing that, it now made brokers less effective. They no longer controlled the books, if you remember those terms. They don't no longer control, where the listings are, who's selling the listings. And the value that the broker brought to the transaction is greatly diminished, even though most of them try to hold on to that as if they still have some type of control. The reality, the only control they have is the community they built. That's really the only effective tool that they have, is they've built a community. My problem is the community is really more of a social club. It has the one spouse makes money, the other one is in this social club, and they show up and they go to the training events. They all hurrah, they give each other rewards for selling, one house every 2 months. And this isn't going to build anything, and we're not gaining any notoriety or credibility. I would prefer us really leverage and skill ourselves on specific abilities that will allow us, to leverage the technology, to leverage the relationships that we have, because those are going to be more important. For example, any transaction that people have and they have a problem, anyone in my network has access to me. They can call me. I'm like a broker that's not going to give legal advice, but I'll solve real estate problems. Right. People need to solve real estate problems, and that's what I try to offer back as a benefit to help agents as often as I can. Mm-hmm. Tell me your transaction issue. I'll tell you how to get through it and how to solve the problem. That's something brokers can't even do today, because most of them don't sell real estate.
Yeah.
And they don't sell real estate, so I always teach, the root word for broker is broke. They don't make any money. I know, I was there. Yeah. I make way more money now than I did as a broker. I'm way happier. I have more time to myself and my family, and I just realized there's no reason to carry all that responsibility. EXP has offered me several positions in the broker staffing, and I looked at it and it would cut my income by like a quarter.
Oh,
It's like,
doesn't make sense.
why would I work that many hours, be responsible for all the headaches, and make a quarter the amount of money? I said that doesn't fit my model going forward. And not that I'm money driven, but I mean, at some point, I don't have to, I'm not, this isn't a charity.
Sure. You
You
got
know,
to pay the bills, You got a family to take care of. Talk to me about your events. So how many events are you doing a year? Like, how many of these things are you doing to bring people, into your sphere or into your
sure. Yeah.
business?
The goal is to have my baseline once a month is I have them come out to my office. I've got a conference room. I'm only going into my third meeting, and the goal is to outgrow my conference room. I can do about 35 people in there.
Okay.
Okay. So my goal is to outgrow that. And then I do have other options that I can move into. But I want to outgrow that is really where I want to start. After that, then I also offer a intense training that I'm going to do. My monthly meetings, I try to have other speakers because I want to spread it out.
Sure.
I don't want it just like a personality driven group. I want, and I'm great one-on-one. I don't think I'm necessarily the guy that needs to stand up and lead everything in general, but I have a vision and I have intention. I'm very driven and I want to pass that as much as I can to see where this thing goes. But I do have other speakers that come in and teach. I am doing personal training. The one next Wednesday is an example. And that one I'm teaching on sphere of influence, how to build your initial bucket without spending money. So that's about an hour training direct, maybe an hour and a half. I'll kind of fine tune how I want to set it up. But that one is, and they're free, and they're right here in Colleyville, Texas. Dallas Fort Worth. That's kind of the, northern Tarrant County kind of area. So that's where I'll do my, next training. And then I have events. About a month ago, I did a headshot event. And we had over 30 agents in there I've never seen or talked to in my life. Brought them in and got me a chance to connect with them. And for $20, they could do professional headshots.
Professional headshots. Brilliant.
And we did, because I had all my vendors take care of it. And the vendors want to see these agents. So they'll throw in some money to, offset the cost of the headshots. And it turned out to be a really successful event. I want to do probably every 2 or 3 months. I'll do that. If I need something, I'll do a real estate panel. I don't mind getting in front of a group and answering hard real estate questions today. So those are kind of some of the engaging things that I want to continuously always have.
Do you have kind of a formal coaching program or anything like that where, you can come in or people can come in and, spend some one-on-one time with you outside of these types of meetings?
I do. So I do have a school platform. Have you heard of School?
I think I've heard of it, but why don't you
Okay.
tell our audience a little bit about it?
Sure, yeah. So there's Patreon, there's School, there's other platforms you can post training programs. I do have that. I've got pretty extensive training that I have set up into that platform, and you can register with the School with my group, and it's free.
Okay.
Again, I call it Real Estate Success DFW. I'm keeping that brand. I really want to emphasize the growth there. And it's a free group to join. And we post, and I have some of my podcasts, and I'll post questions, and people ask me questions on that space, and I love answering questions. So I do that. But the purpose of that is to allow you to have access to the classes and things I do have.
Right.
As far as coaching, I do have training you can buy, but as far as coaching, I do offer one program. It's a 6-month one-on-one with me, and it's $20,000, and it's 6 months one-on-one with me, and I go through all of the things that I do in order to grow you into a successful agent. And by the time you finish 6 months, it will more than cover the 20,000, and now you have a platform to build an effective future. It's through sphere of influence, it's through scalability, and it's through building all your buckets without spending money outside of working with me. So that's really kind of the strategy, and I do offer that as well.
Okay. I know, we talked about kind of that trend from brick and mortar to the cloud-based stuff. What other trends are you starting to see in the business now or coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, so the exposure has been the reason why I bring up community is because the exposure the opportunity for EXP was probably one of the first big ones that came on the scene. There were other cloud-based that were starting, but the reason why EXP took off is because they had a technology and a community you could connect with anybody in the U.S. and get training. Using their EXP world. That was a really big step forward. And they also operate without the franchise. And the reason why that's significant is because franchise model silos the opportunity for growth and business planning, because every franchise has to be a part and agree to do whatever the changes are, because they're all kind of like their own individual shareholders. EXP is one model, one brand, one broker. So for example, I just sold a new build in Florida. Could not do that at KW or any other franchise.
Right.
You would have to set up an agreement, do a referral, and then they would pay you like 30%.
Right.
I set it up. I'm not licensed there, and I got a 98.2% deal. So
Nice.
the deal's mine, because I worked out the deal. It's my deal.
Yeah, sure.
But it's all under the same brokerage, so that counts towards my cap.
Mhm.
At EXP. That would not count towards your cap at KW, for example. And nothing wrong with it. I think the way to think about KW is if they were invented after the internet, it would look like EXP.
Got it.
But it wasn't.
Right.
It was invented, 80s into the 90s is where, Gary Keller and his partnerships, put together their platform and how they built. And we have a lot to thank, in the way he built it, because we use a lot of the same ideas of working with buyers and sellers that Gary Keller and his research and things came up with. But the thing about what happened though in the cloud base is that we moved away from connecting with agents in person, and the community got lost. That's really kind of what the exposure was, and EXP exploded in growth until it stopped. And I think one of the main problems is that agents get siloed. Well, you can just go in the cloud, right? Or you can just call the broker. That's not a relational thing. I'm not meeting in person. I'm not growing. I'm not connecting. I'm not building a community. It's just all on me. Right. And some agents, no problem. For example, I'm a natural entrepreneur. I never worked for a broker that taught me how to, do this, set out these calls, do this checklist every day, time block this. I never had anyone teach me those things. And I effectively still don't do a lot of them. I can tell you how I got to the sphere of influence separately, but I never learned how to do a lot of those things. So I didn't know that agents in general were not naturally inspired just to go out and do things. And they're not. Most are not 1099 by nature. They're all W-2 by nature. They want to be told what to do.
Right.
Tell me the next step. Tell me what I need to do. And, there are others that are, they'll wake up. I wake up at 5 every morning to go work out, and I'm here by 8 o'clock in the morning, which is way before agents even roll out of bed, I think.
Sure.
Because I tell you, I call any agent before 9, no one's answering.
Voicemail
and that's
all
cool.
day long.
It is what it is. It's the business I'm in. That's fine. But I got 4 kids, and I want to be done by 3, 4 o'clock every day, and I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, for any agents that might be listening, anybody listening, what advice would you give them as far as getting into the business? Maybe if you are agents, how the best way to reach out and get with investors and those type of things.
My best advice, I did it with experience, is how I did it. But quite honestly, if you really want to get into the investor business, I would subscribe to a lot of wholesale channels and pick up a whole list of opportunities and houses. And then you probably want to read some basic guides on how to evaluate houses. What does ARV mean? What is percentage of ARV? What are we buying and what bucket range are we buying? What do our investors want to buy in?
Right.
Most of them probably want to buy at 70, 75%, which doesn't exist in my market. So I don't spend a bunch of time. That's one of the reasons I don't do a lot in my market right now. Most of our deals that come in, they're probably about 80, 82%. I mean, just realistically. Yeah. And most investors, that's not enough margin for them to be able to make the deal work. Ultimately, if I'm an agent trying to work with investors, you've got to work with those margins. Most investors that have been doing this a while, they try to go direct to seller, right? That's the dream.
Sure.
That has zero interest to me, so I've never pursued it. Yeah. I would rather have someone bird dog it, go work it up. We'll find some margin in there that I can make the deal work. And this is a really important advice for agents. I make money on the buy side too. Even though there's no commission up front, it's basically what happens is whatever they have a price for on the property, let's say it's 150, then I mark it up to my investor X%, right? So, or a dollar amount. I may say it's, 155. Normally I'm only making 5 on the buy side. Mm-hmm. I know that there might be 30, 40 grand on some of these deals, but I try to always make it so my buyer says yes. That seller or the wholesaler will always call me because I'm very easy to work with. And they've never not said yes to a $5,000 deal. Right. And and if you could do one of those a month, that's $5,000 a month extra, and it's not that hard to be able to facilitate. So you've got a list of wholesalers, you got to know your margins, and then you got to know how to say this property, and I'll take a text property, right? I'll text it, I'll add 5 to it, I'll blast it out to my group, who I know is a buyer in that space, and then normally I don't have to blast it because I normally only have about 2 or 3, and if I send it to them, they always respond because I have a relationship with them.
Yeah, right.
I don't have to go send it out to a network of 1,000 emails of investors. I can just directly text it to them and said, "Is this what you're looking for?" And they usually say yes or no, and they say, "Yeah, when can I go see it?" And then I set up the showing.
Yeah.
And I just kind of fly that way.
And I've always been on that same token is it's not necessarily quantity of buyers, it's the quality of the ones that you have. It's the ones you have the relationships with that will give you the straight on the deals if they work or don't work. And it saves you a lot of time and hassle. Man, I appreciate all the
I'll tell you
information.
one other really cool thing. This might
Yeah,
help other
please.
people too. Build the relationship with the wholesalers because they can also sell your properties. I have properties that I get, I'm telling you, every week. When I told you I work sphere of influence, I get a lead every day of the week is my average. That's a referral. Now, referrals don't turn into 30 referrals a month, but the conversion, by the time they settled out, not just like, hey, we're thinking about buying a house in 6 months. I'm talking like really close. Probably out of that 30, I'll usually close about 6 to 10 of them, and I'll close them. But I probably get a house about every week or so that's off market. And you know where I get them from is other agents because they don't know what to do with them. So this is another channel. If you can become kind of that guy that takes care of off market deals, they give it to me. I give it to my local, team of wholesale, and then I let them put the package together, promote it to their 1,000 cash buyers, and then when they work it out, whatever the net is, if it's an agent giving it to me, then we'll do thirds. You know, my the disposition acquisition is the terms they always use. So right, so the disposition group gets a third. I'm the facilitator. I get a third. The acquisition gets a third. So we just split it up into thirds. The bucket. Right now, I've got a $10,000 deal. We each make $3,300 a piece, and it took 2 weeks, and probably 20 or 30 texts, and we're done.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Man, Shaune, thank you for coming on here and sharing a lot of this information. If there are people that are listening and they want to get in touch with you, they want to, maybe get on your podcast or they want to just talk to you about how to grow the investor part of their agency, how do they reach out to you? How's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, I'm super easy. Connect on Instagram if you like Instagram. If you like Facebook, I'm super easy there. I give my phone number out. You care?
No, go ahead.
Phone number 214-228-0383. It is my personal cell. And anyone can call me if they see the show. They're welcome to call me. I'm not at a point that I get too many calls. So right now I'll put it out there. I don't have a problem with anyone reaching out and saying, "Hey, I saw the show. I love what you got to say." I'm happy to help anyone in this space if this is something they want to do. But yeah, and if they're in my group or if they're in Dallas Fort Worth, they're an agent, man, join my real estate group. I'm personally teaching and coaching them.
That's awesome. And guys, we'll put all this information in the show notes, so you'll have all the links and all the stuff to get in touch with him. Shaune, thank you again for coming on and sharing this information with our audience. Guys, I hope you took some good notes, and I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.